The January 1st, 2024 Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden and Limited list was one hell of a shakeup. There were tons of moves, things getting shifted, and more importantly, there were definitely winners and losers, and that's what this video is all about. Not the traditional meta prediction or top 5 best decks of the new format, both of which will come in due time on this channel, but rather a simplistic look at what got wrecked the hardest and what came out smelling like roses. The biggest loser was MaFMC, with MaFMC Circular getting banned. There's no beating around the bush here. MaFMC got absolutely annihilated by the Banlist update, and it was done with a single move. MaFMC Circular wasn't just the strongest and most important monster for the archetype, it was basically the entire reason to play the deck. It was a 1-card starter that also gave you an extender while netting you a disruptive card in Super Factorial, which in turn also provided you with an Omni Negate during your opponent's turn. I'm not sure if one singular card has ever done so much for an archetype as what Circular did for MaFMC, and maybe that's Konami's justification for banning it, because it sure as hell wasn't the competitive results. Since being limited, MaFMC has been fine competitively, and yes, it has seen a stable amount of regional and even some YCS tops, but honestly, it hasn't really been considered a top 5 deck by basically anyone in the last 2 formats, so many have deemed this hit unnecessary. With MaFMC Circular banned, the MaFMC deck is, at least in my opinion, officially dead, as the Firewall cards are of course nice starters, but they just don't help in nearly all the ways that Circular did. The biggest winner was undoubtedly Joshua Smith. Circular was banned, multiple Rika hits, and no runic cards were touched. People on Reddit joked shortly after the announcement that threw the entire community into a frenzy that it actually seemed like the Forbidden Unlimited list update was made by Joshua Smith himself. I mean, absolutely everything went right for him, like perfectly, even almost in a strange and kind of crazy way. He hates MaFMC Circular, they randomly banned the card despite MaFMC not really doing much competitively, at least as of late. He's got an issue with the Rika deck, well they give that theme 2 indirect hits by going after some of the Sun Avalon monsters. On the other side, it is well known how much Joss loves Runic. This of course is evident by the fact that he just won his 2nd YCS using a Runic variant, and Konami completely ignores Runic as a theme on this list. No fountain hit, no hits to Runic tip, pretty much nothing stopping Josh from just running it back and winning his 3rd YCS by using a Runic variant. So yeah, he pretty much took a bunch of W's on this list. A Banlist loser, Rika, and Jessica Robinson by proxy. We talked about Rika and how it received not 1 but 2 indirect hits to Sun Avalon Dryas and Healer, which were obviously meant to tackle the big combo inboard that the deck could easily establish off a single vanilla monster. Many in the community started bringing up the Rika deck in terms of decks to get hit after Jesse Robinson won the European Championship in the summer, but this is not what I expected. Can Rika still easily make a massive board and in on a ton of disruptions from a single card? Yes. However, now it's far more susceptible to commonly played hand traps and other disruptions. I think the more important factor here is the fact that Konami is clearly sending a message that Rika is not off limits and that the deck is on their radar. I say this because Aroma is getting more support in the next core booster set for the TCG and Phantom Nightmare, which could end up minimizing the impact of these Sun Avalon hits. If that happens, we could see other cards get hit in the future, and although this is a super duper early prediction, keep your eye on Aroma Seraphy Jasmine. I honestly think that that card is eventually going to get banned because in my opinion the card is just kind of broken. Yes, we didn't get the tier 1 FTK plant deck that they had in the OCG, but the card is still ridiculously strong, and more importantly, it just fits the description. It is a Link Frames monster, and if you look at Link Frames monsters historically, you know, Verte Anacana, Hakafrybrax, Electromite, Bardies, Union Carrier, I could honestly just go down the line. These cards end up on the FNL list. Banlist winner Manium and Triff Gaming by proxy. There's not a lot to say here. Manium had a pretty solid run around YCS Indianapolis this format and the weeks post that event, but then it fell off a bit in favor of Infernoble. However, Manium received absolutely no hits to its core engine or to any of the Visas related cards, so it's pretty much full speed ahead. Even the supplemental cards that are usually associated with the deck like Triple Tactics Thrust and Triple Tactics Talents were left completely unscathed, so Manium players will have the option to either play hand traps or of course those powerful board breakers and max out on them. With other combo decks like Tyr and Infernoble losing cards left and right, don't be surprised if players flock to Manium as one of the front runners for best big combo deck of the new format. Also, Triff kinda went on a run where he topped 2 regionals in 2 completely different states in back-to-back days, so he ended the format on a little bit of a heater, and this momentum could carry on to the new list. Banlist loser, myself. 3 major floodgates hit, not only my runic deck, but also my personal investment of max rarity floodgates completely wrecked. Lord, I'm in shambles right now. Not only did my runic deck get absolutely hammered with limits to Rivalry of Warlords, there can be only one, and Gozen match, which of course is going to make the stun factor of the deck way less potent and consistent, but I personally took a huge L as I have a combined 8 collector rare copies of Rivalry and there can only be one. What the heck am I supposed to do with all these max rarity floodgates now, Konami? Yes, are the cards broken and crazy powerful? Yeah, they definitely are, but it's not like a ton of meta decks were really playing the cards. I think Konami just got sick of people on social media complaining about them all the time, so they just decided to give in the public pressure and finally just hit the cards. At least we still have triple skill drain, which I'm probably not gonna bring up anymore because I feel like I'm gonna end up jinxing that. Banlist winner, anyone who likes to go seconds apparently, with Snatch Steal back, no hits to triple tactics, talents, or thrusts, and Pot of Prosperity still at 3 to dig for all of the above cards. Going second in Yu-Gi-Oh! Can often feel like a nightmare, but it's getting better, albeit slowly. Snatch Steal was an unexpected but fantastic addition back into the game. I don't think that it's going to be a definitive game changer, as you can probably forecast it to have a competitive impact similar to Change of Heart, although if you keep adding these power cards back into the pool, eventually you have enough of them to make an actual difference. This is classic power in numbers, and when you add Change of Heart and Snatch Steal to the triple tactics cards, suddenly going second doesn't seem to be the unwinnable proposition that it was not too long ago. Keep in mind, while not searchable, Snatch Steal can actually take a 5 material purely noir, which I think is actually kind of crazy. Usually it'll at least force that card to use its effect, which makes your opponent play into those tactic cards. And also, don't overlook how powerful Snatch Steal can be, especially when you compare it to Change of Heart at taking boss monsters in the grind game or a top deck war. Imagine you taking a Baron de Fleur or Bistioda's Patter in a top deck war. That's a game that you're most likely going to win because those cards are such massive bodies and they can generate so much advantage if they're not answered immediately. When you look at Snatch Steal coming back, the triple tactics cards, Lightning Storm, less floodgates, and then Pot of Prosperity, which was a card a lot of people thought was going to get hit but didn't actually end up getting hit in any capacity, I think that it's a pretty attractive environment for people who are actually looking to go seconds. But those are just my picks, and I would like to know yours. Leave that in the comment section below. Do you think that there are any other players, decks, or any other thing in between that took an inordinate L or W? Because yeah, even days after the ban list, I still have not quite recovered from the L that I took. I felt like Konami hit my deck pretty hard, but we'll just adapt, adjust, or find something else to play. Anyways, thank you guys for watching as always.